So, good morning, all of you.
Good
Good
morning.
morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Yes. So, have you finished the second task also? How many of you have finished the
Yes,
second?
sir.
Yes.
Okay. Can you raise the hand if you have finished second task so that I want to see how many people have finished it. It's a very small thing. I think I really need the people to finish it because I have explained you what is continue, and I expect many people to finish it up. I see only 5 hands raised. Okay, 6. So out of 91, it's only 6 hands raised. I hope the others are also part of this class. And it's a very minimal task I have given clearly. Yes. So 9 hands raised. Good. 10, 11. Yes. So 13 up to now. So for the people who have come newly, I asked the people to raise the hand if they have finished doing the second task yesterday. Because the first task already I have given you the entire program on how to do it, and I have even explained you. I want the second task to be done using continue so that the continue can be a good practice for you. Yes, I got only 17 people until now out of 96 in this class. Right. Uh, so I got only 17 people as my students in the class. I hope so. I don't know what about the rest. Right. At least if you have tried, that's also very good. Okay. Right. Let me explain this task also. So that initially I will be explaining the tasks. If you have done, that's very good. Then I will be explaining you. But in future, the entire assignments will be auto graded. I will also have a plagiarism check. So if you don't work and you sit idly and sit calmly, then definitely you are the loser, not me, right? So if you have any doubts, please come up with the doubts. So today, after explaining this one, for yesterday's class, I will allow you to ask me for some doubts so that we will discuss about that. Let me share the screen and explain you. See, I think yesterday I have took the class even though I'm not well. The reason is it's a passion that everybody should contain. So both the students and teachers should have the same passion, not few students. So once you are a student, your job is only to learn, learn, learn. And learning will always contain an interaction between teacher and student. So it's not a one way of teacher telling and student just listening. You need to have some practice and participation. Right. Coming back to this task. So what is the task I have given? I have even given the list of n numbers. So 1 to 10 numbers as a list I have given in n. The only thing that we need to use is use a for loop, print only even numbers, and the class is only using continue. Now let us see how we use continue here. Let me block these statements. This is the previous task one. So I will write this as task one solution. Okay. I will now mark it as comment. Right. Then I'm doing the next task. Task 2 solution. Now here I need to use continue, right? Okay. My class is continue and I need to only print even numbers. So what I expect, so I can write it like expected output. Okay. Why I'm doing all these things? Because I even expect you to do the same thing in your observation records. Okay. So I first need an expected output for this task. I have already given the task on the above question. So my expected output is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So among the given numbers in the list, so what is the list that we have? That we have n like this. So I will copy this one for my solution. So this is the n number of list I have given. So that there are n numbers, 1 to 10 numbers in a list, which is kept as n. But I will now convert it into n list. Okay, n number list. Now I want to go through every element in the list. That means every number in the list. But I only want to print even numbers. Let me write the solution. First, for reading the n number of numbers, I write for, okay, I specifically specify number in n list. This is one way you can write, right? అంటే ఈ లిస్ట్లో ఉన్న ప్రతి నెంబర్ ఐఎమ్ డైరెక్ట్లీ టాకింగ్ అబౌట్ ఎలిమెంట్ ఐఎమ్ నాట్ టాకింగ్ అబౌట్ గెట్టింగ్ ద ఎలిమెంట్ త్రూ ఇండెక్స్ నెంబర్. So there are two ways to get something from the list, as I have told you yesterday. One is getting an element through its index number and getting an element directly using the in statement. In. So what we are saying for number, for each number, for each number in n list. Okay. Remember that in is one of the keyword in your Python. It clearly specifies that when the for loop is repeating, it iterates one by one. So the first number in the n list will be 1. After finishing it, if the for loop repeats again, it iterates to the second number. It automatically does it. Okay. And next it iterates to the third number. Next it iterates to the fourth number. Every time, whatever the iteration is in, that will be allocated to the number. So I will tell you each and everything with a comment. So when I have written for number in n list, the first thing it does is number is assigned with the first element of the n list. Okay. Right. So whatever I have kept in comments is actually stored in the memory. Next, what is my task is I need to check whether the given number is even or odd. If it is odd, I want to continue. If it is even, then I need to print it. Okay, that's what I use continue. Okay, I don't want to print. Okay, you go on if it is odd number, you go on with your iteration. If it is even number, you print and go on with the iteration. There are two things that we have. So I'll write a condition if if I can write something like number. So I have suggestions already. Number equal to ah. So what is that suggestion I need to write? Is it like number equal to or because I am not giving one number. I want to find out whether it is even or odd. So this is not correct. Can anybody suggest me what is the condition I need to write to find out whether it is odd or even?
N%
Percentage two.
number
And
percent.
percentage to not equal to 0.
Whatever the number is, number mod, okay, number mod, uh, right, 2, because I want to find out if it is even. If it is even, because we cannot find out whether it is odd or not. Somebody turn up your mic, please. Okay. So, first of all, I need to find out whether it is even or not. So, what I have done, n mod 2 equal to 0. So, you see this condition, n mod 2 means what does mod indicate? It gives us the remainder,
Reminder.
not the quotient. if you are putting slash, number slash 2, that means this slash, it gives us the quotient. But here we are getting the remainder. So something divided by 2, if the remainder is 0, then I am saying it's an even. So according to me, I need to print this number. Okay. So what I am doing is, if you find it's even, then print the number and go on to iterate. Iterate in the sense, loops కి ఇది మనం వాడుతూ ఉంటాం. ఇటరేట్ అంటే అర్థం ఏంటంటే ఒక్కొక్క దగ్గర ఇంక్రిమెంట్ చేసుకుంటూ లెవెల్ బై లెవెల్ వెళ్తూ ఉండు అని అర్థం. ఓకే, సో వీఆర్ ఇటరేటింగ్ సీక్వెన్షియల్, వీఆర్ గోయింగ్ ఫ్రమ్ వన్ పొజిషన్ టు అనదర్ పొజిషన్ ఇన్ ఏ లైన్ యూజింగ్ ఫర్ లూప్. అంటే ఒక్కొక్క పొజిషన్కి వెళ్తూ ఉన్నాం, అందుకని గో ఆన్ టు ఇటరేట్ అన్నా. ఇటరేట్కి అర్థం అది. ఎల్స్ you simply say continue. So here what I mean, if you find it's odd, then go on to iterate. పైకి దీనికి చాలా డిఫరెన్స్ ఉంది. ఏంటది? పైన ఏమో ప్రింట్ చేయమంటున్నాను, కింద కంటిన్యూ అంటున్నాను నేను. జస్ట్ గో ఆన్ టు ఇటరేట్. కంటిన్యూ మీన్స్ go on to iterate. As I told you, explained you yesterday, when the controller sees continue, it immediately goes to the loop statement. Because for loop has increment in itself. While loop la kaadu idi. For loop has three aspects, as I have already told you. This appears like this. For will have initialization, comparison, and increment or decrement. This is what happening in the for loop. So this loop statement is quite applicable for continue. But what while is having, if you are going with while is only having comparison. It doesn't have any increment or initializations. Initializations and increments are of different line. While only compare. But for initializes, compares, increment or decrement in the same statement. So when you say continue, it comes to this statement and iterates to the next position, 2. So now it goes to 2. Now the number will be converted into 2. Next, it compares number mod to 0. Yes, this time it is 0, right? So the print will be done. Okay, so the number 2 will be printed onto the screen, and after that else is there. So when you come to else, if this condition fails, then you come to else. Because this condition doesn't fail and it is true, the else part is not touched and simply it goes to this one. So next iteration, the number will be iterated to 3. Okay, so let me check this particular one in your output. So I hope don't see the above one, that is previous output, but see the below one. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Is this the expected output that I am expecting? So this is the expected output, 2, 4, 6, 8. If I want to get it exactly like this, what is the modification I need to do here?
So you're not audible, sir.
The comma end equals to space.
Yes, comma and equal to space, right? So if this is the case, then exactly we will get this statement. Let me see, let me save it. I want to mask the above thing. Yes, I need to put it in quotes. Okay, right. I hope everything is fine. Clear? Yes, I think a small thing can change this particular one. See the output, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. What we expected is what we got. Okay, what we expected is what we got. I want this Kranti Kiran MacBook Air 2 in the next line. What is the small addition I need to do after this program?
Print
Yes,
Print.
blank
only
statement.
blank print. So this blank print by default in Python 3 actually tells you that you need to go to the next line. Whether it might be blank print or it might be filled print, always the Python after one print statement, it will go to the next line onto the screen. Remember, display is different from the memory. Whatever that you are doing here, number is equal to 3 is stored in the memory. Whatever you are trying to print the number is about screen. Okay? The screen on which you want to display. So all gimmicks on the screen will be only done by the print statement. Okay? You need to do whatever you want using only print statement. Okay, so memory doesn't understand what is what, because you already have seen this one yesterday. One, two, three, next one, two, three, and next one, two, three. This is only viewed by you on the screen. Simple example. You are playing a very good graphic game. Nowadays, we are actually immersed into the war games and all. I don't know how many of you have played this Call of Duty, Medal of Honor, first person shooters, and racing games. These 3D games, when you see as if you are involved in that particular world, and they are so natural that we think sometimes that as we are acting in a movie, actually are we really in that particular world fighting for the nation? But what is happening in the memory? In memory, it is all in pixel format. That means in numbers. That is why you need graphic card for storing all that memory. Whatever you are seeing is only the colors filled in the pixel. Imagine like that actually. So whatever you see is a gimmick. That's why we have a famous software called Maya. Have you ever heard about that? Maya
Yes, sir.
software.
Yes, sir.
Many games have been developed using Maya software for animations and all. People have come up with why Maya is the name given to that particular software. It was, I think, invented in USA by some company of enthusiastic students. They kept it Maya. Many people thought because in America there is a Maya civilization, Mayan civilization, they have kept this name as Maya. But it's not the thing. The people who started this company and Maya software, before Unity, Maya was very famous. They told that Maya is a Sanskrit word, and it says it is virtual world. It's something mesmerizing, it's astonishing. So indicates that nothing is present really, but it is shown something different onto the screen. So imagine memory as something different from what you display onto the screen. So what you want to be seen onto the screen is how you write the program. Okay, that's what the expected outcome mean. So if I said I want this one, if after you go to the software companies, if your client comes and says I want this to be here, I want this button to be here, you need to do that one only. To make it does, you want memory, you need to write a program, and that's excellent programming that is really needed for you to get the expected output. ఓకే, మీకు అవుట్పుట్ ఎగ్జాక్ట్గా రావాలి అంటే మీరు ఖచ్చితంగా యూజర్ చెప్పిన దానికి అనుగుణంగా మీరు కోడింగ్ రాయాలి. ఆ కోడింగ్ రాయటానికి ఉపయోగపడేదే మీ మెమొరీ. సో లిసన్ టు దట్ పర్టికులర్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ లైన్స్ దట్ ఐ am telling every time and try to follow it. I hope you understand the difference between the printing and memory. So just now I have shown you 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That is display. But in memory, how it is stored, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. This is how it is stored in memory actually. And it knows how to divide it because you have already given this is one row, this is second row, this is third row. That's how it actually thinks. That's how it actually presents you onto the screen. But actually, in memory, it is stored in a sequence. That's what the difference between the display and the memory, right? So this is one part I can do it. What is the next part I can do? Uh, the
Sir,
other way, yes,
sir.
Yes.
Without writing print, I get the full list, sir. By list wise vertically.
Without writing print.
Print, I get vertical, sir. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
Okay, right. After
Same,
telling
sir.
solution, I will ask you to share the screen. We will see your program. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Next. So using indexes, how we need to do? How we need to do using indexes? Let me take index. So I will say for index. Okay. For index, I'm writing index in range. I will start the index with 0 because always the priority for list is index always starts with 0. What is the end for the index?
Length of and
Yes,
Length of list.
of n list. So this means it will go up to length. Now, what is the length? Actually, we have 10 numbers. So the length is 10. So it will start with 0 and end at 9. Okay, because I talk about up to. Next thing. Let us take this into consideration. Index is equal to the first thing is 0 as it is initialized. Okay. So for this, the parallel thing that we need to think about for loop is indx is initially initialized with 0. Indx is compared with length of n list, and indx is incremented with indx plus 1. Okay. So this is the comparison thing, the entire for loop that it contains for this range. Okay. The entire function లో ఇది జరుగుతుందని చెప్పడానికి ఇదంతా చేశాను. So initial memory indx will be 0. Same thing now. If, how you compare now? I only got index. I cannot say, can I say indx mod 2 is equal to 0? Can I say this? Is it a correct statement?
no, sir.
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
The reason is we are trying to compare an index number divided by 2, remainder is 0 or not. So what is index number? Index numbers are nothing but 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Why do you compare index number? You want to compare whether the element in this list is even or odd, not the index number. Okay. You use index number only to retrieve the element. So what I do simply is n
List of
list,
index.
n list of index. So n list and enti, n list is this one. So now what is our first index? 0. So n list of 0 is nothing but 1. So this entirely is viewed by computer as 1. So 1 mod 2 0 కాదా చూసుకుంటుంది అది. కాదు అంటే it will go to continue. అవును అంటే it will print it. So now uh, let me do this. So n list లో the index number. Now the simple thing is, if it is even, I want to print index of end list. ఎందుకంటే I want to print the element. How to print the element? I want to ask, okay, n list, print an element in this index number. Okay, print an element in this index number. Next thing is else continue. That's all, right? So now I will get a vertical order of presentation. If you want a horizontal, you need to definitely give it as end is equal to double quotes in between space. Now let me check out whether it is correct or not. I need to get two answers. Okay. Yes, I got it right. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. After that, because I have used print, it simply has gone to the next line. And from there onwards, because I have not given end is equal to space, everything is printed vertically. So there are two ways I have explained you. One is using the in keyword, and the other thing is using the index. Okay. Directly here, you are directly talking about element. So direct element access. Here element access using index number, right? So using index number you get it. Here you are directly using element access. This is the difference between these two. Okay, this is the simple program I have asked, and I have only seen 17 people raising the hands. I don't know whether people have tried it or not. You take a simple list. What is the difficulty in that? You take a list and you try to first read all the numbers and print them using index, and next one using direct element access. Once you get it, the only thing is you add this condition. That's all. Finished your program, right? Only else part will have continue. That's all. Now you will understand what is continue exactly in the for loops. Right? This is what I want to say. And now I want to ask any. Somebody has said they will share the screen, and then we will go for doubts. I'm stopping this share.
Sir, I also did like index, sir.
Okay.
So I
Right.
get it.
So there is no need for you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right. Any doubts?
Sir, I
Yes.
have problem
Tell
with
me.
while loop, sir. I did once with while loop.
So what's your problem? Will you share or just
Yes,
a
yes.
Alert from
oral doubt? 1 minute.
your disk is almost full.
Okay. Tell me now. Hello. Is he there online? Roll number 55.
Yes, sir.
So are you sharing the screen?
Hello, sir.
Are you sharing the screen, Amma?
Yes, sir. 1 minute, sir.
Ah. I want to see what is your doubt.
Our host disabled the participating stage.
Hmm. Hmm. Now you can, Vishnu.
This one's a while loop.
Okay.
It's not running, sir.
I understand. Go above. Go above. L 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Come down.
I equal to I plus 1 space.
No. That is okay. But one thing you do, see, you have closed the bracket before those double equal to, right? Once, I don't think that's an error, but still you change it like that. You put the bracket, the parenthesis, after zero. Close the parenthesis after zero once. Yes, there. Save it. No. Then we will see.
Not.
Control Z ಕೊಟ್ಟು sir. Control Z ಅಮ್ಮ.
Yes, sir. I typed. It's not working.
Actually, it is going
So,
into. Yes.
so in the while loop, he is using continue statement, sir.
Yes, that's why it is. It is actually when it is continuing, the increment is not there. Yesterday we have discussed it, no, right? So I did not observe that. Vishnu, I
Yes,
said
sir.
yesterday that continue cannot be used in while loop. Have you
Okay.
remembered that?
Okay,
Now only I have explained that also. While loop only gives you comparison. It doesn't increment because
okay.
whenever it sees continue, it is not incrementing. It is simply going to the while statement.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, so that's why you are getting infinite loop.
Yes.
Okay, to stop infinite loop, actually it is control Z or control D, something you type. I think it's control Z only. Because it's Windows, it is control Z. If it is Mac, it is command Z. It's not stopping for you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, cancel it and do it again if it's not doing so. Okay, then you can stop sharing the screen. I think you understand that. So that's what
Then
I'm saying.
continue, sir.
For all the programs, we cannot use both while and for. So it's based on the usage that we need to that we need to decide while and for. So some people might ask me, sir, why while and for? What could be the reason for their different names? Can you stop sharing the screen, Vishnu? Yes. Yeah, Vishnu, you did it correctly. If you have removed continue, then while will work. But for loop, it is good that if you use continue, that's also fine. So when
Yes.
I given the class use continue, so you need to decide where to use continue. అంటే కంటిన్యూ ఎక్కడ వాడాలి అనేది మీరు ఆలోచించాలి. కంటిన్యూ వాడాలి అని చెప్పానంటే ఖచ్చితంగా మీరు ఫర్ లూప్ వాడాల్సిందే అక్కడ. ఎందుకంటే వైల్ లూప్కి అది ఎగ్జాక్ట్గా పని చేయట్లేదు కాబట్టి. ఓకే.
Okay. Okay.
So this is how you decide the strategy. So if people ask me what could be the difference between this for and while, I say no difference, but there are very minor differences like this type. Okay. So it's all based on the applicability that you decide whether I need to use for loop and while loop. Basically, programmers decide with something like if I am in the class, I would have told the example. Imagine I have once asked the students to keep the books on the table. Okay. So until I put a pen on the last book, you should keep the books continuously. So people coming one by one and putting the book, their observation books on the table. And finally, I have kept a pen on the book, and that's all. Then people started to stop putting the book on the table. So this is where we use while loop. I will anyway explain you clearly later on. That's not a very big case. If it is direct explanation, then you will like clearly understand that example. But anyway, until now you need to decide based on the applicability. You can either use while loop or for loop. Yes. Dinesh, do you want to speak anything?
No, sir, no.
Okay.
Sir,
Yes, Shreya.
sir, then break is also not so useful in while loop, sir.
Break can be useful in while loop because break doesn't need any increments, right? Break means you abruptly end the loop and go outside the loop statement. Okay. Break can be both used in for loop and while loop. There is no problem with break. Continue only we have the problem because continuous main task is to send the controller to the loop statement, as I have told you yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it is for loop or while loop, it will only go to the loop statement. For the advantage is that we have increment in the for loop statement itself, so there is no problem for us. But for while, because we don't have any incremental statement in the while statement itself, we only have comparison. That's the disadvantage. So it is going to infinite one. Okay.
Yes. Sir, then for loop has more advantage, sir.
Yes, definitely, and that is the reason why most programmers prefer using for loop for some application-oriented aspects, and some people might use while loop also. That's all. That's what I said based on the context. Like yesterday, I said, right? Every student is intelligent, but based on the applicability, the intelligence comes out. Sachin Tendulkar cannot do PhD, right?
Yes.
Abdul Kalam cannot play cricket. So they have succeeded in their own fields. The same thing that can be applicable to both while and for. So for can be used in some aspects and while can be used in some aspects. And slowly when you try to practice the programming, you will understand where to use what. Okay.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Yes, any other doubts? Because in the afternoon we need to do some programming on these things. I will decide what programming we need to do. Come up with doubts.
Like in C++, I remember we used to input in the for loop, we could have inputted one or more increment operators like I plus plus n plus plus. In
Okay.
Python, is it possible?
I plus plus and plus plus I, these are pre-increment and post-increment are entirely removed from Python.
No, sir. In Python, can we enter in for loop to increment operations like I equals to I plus one and n equals to n plus one?
Uh, in C, we can increment that, and Python also, if we want to do, we have the third one, as I have already said to you. Have you remembered that we in for
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
third one? That's the only way that you can use. For example, I will show it now. See. So if you want to increment it to 2, right? So I will say, so I want to do it in an order. For example, for the same thing, I want to print only without continuous statement. I want to print only even numbers. So I know that in my list, I am starting from 1 and 10. So I know that all the odd indexes are actually the even numbers, right? So I will do it like this: indx in range 1, okay, to length of n list, and we go for 2. So what happens now? 1, first the index number will be 1, so 1 will be printed first, index number 1 will be printed. So let us see.
Sir, colon.
Yeah, I forgot column, sorry. Yes, next, indx is equal to 0. Oh, sorry. Initially it will be 1 because I have initialized with 1, right? Next, I simply print these things. Okay. What is the next thing? I have clearly explained in the for loop that the third one clearly indicates what is the increment. So I am saying increment by 2. So this can be understood like this: indx is equal to the previous indx plus 2. This is what it understands. Okay, so if you write in C programming, this is equivalent to indx is equal to initially 1 initialized, indx is less than length of n list, and indx is equal to indx plus 2. Okay, so this is how it will be done. So this is the initialization, this is comparison, and this is the way you increment. Okay, so next time it is incremented to 1 plus 2 is 3. So now you will print n list of 3. Next time it will be incremented to 5. So you will print n list of 5. Did you understand, Saurath?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
This is the way you have to do it. Let me check out the answer if possible. Yes. So I think you got it, right? So 2, 4, 6, 8
Yes, sir.
has been printed. So the last one is always for increment. If you don't give, by default, it is nothing but 1. So it always indicates it like the by default, it is always index is equal to index plus 1 in this case. If you don't give it. If you give also, you can write 1, you can write 2, the same thing, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, okay. If can anybody remember? I don't say remember because remember is different from. Can you get back to your remembrance? How to decrement it? How to decrement it? So I want to read from the last one up to 0. Now, what is the change I need to do in such a way that it will print from reverse of a list? So tell me.
Minus 1.
Minus
Negative
minus
number.
Minus 1.
minus 1.
Minus 1. This minus 1 indicates that index is equal to index minus 1. Okay. So if it is positive number, it will be plus 1. If it is negative number, it will be minus 1. Okay. So this indicates this one. So we are going back. So we are starting with 10, 10 minus 1, 9, next 9 minus 1, 8, 8 minus 1, 7, 7 minus 1, 6, and so on. Okay, for minus, you need to write. By default, always remember, by default, if you leave it like this, always it is considered as 1. But if you want to specifically say whether I want to decrement or increment and how many numbers I want to decrement and how many numbers I want to increment, you need to give it like this. So this means that index is equal to index minus 2. Okay. So this is the reason the for loops are very good at using continue, because you can clearly give whether you need to increment or decrement and how many numbers you increment and how many numbers you decrement. So I think if people have got this doubt, I think I clarified it. Any other? Next. I think we have already discussed this concept earlier, but if you have forgot it, I want to just repeat it again. Come up with doubts, come up with doubts.
So before the vacation, we had raised a doubt regarding printing 1 to infinite all numbers
Yes,
and using for loop.
I will deal with it. Let us finish some problems, then we will come to, because that is using different way of approach. That's not in the range of how we need to do it, right? People will get confused if I say it now. That's why I'm keeping it pending. Okay, Savit? It's not so easy like how we in while loop. I will explain you in the afternoon. Don't worry how to get infinite. Yesterday we have seen lot of infinite loops using continue, right? In while loop also, intentionally I will make it as infinite loop. Okay, so I will explain while loop, infinite loop. For for loop anyway, I will explain you in the next week, because after people get familiar with all these concepts, then I can go to that one, because it is using some other function for this particular concept. Is it Saurit who asked for infinite loop? Hello? Hello, am I audible to you all?
Yes, sir, audible.
Who has asked? I did not understand. Is it Saurit or somebody
Yes.
else?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, any other?
Sir,
Yes.
sir, can't we take input for the elements in a list?
Input for elements in a list. Yes, you can take it. I will also tell that one. You can take the input for the elements in a list. So you can simply get what is the number that you want, and you can simply assign it. For example, I will tell initially I will take a empty list. Empty list in the sense I am actually declaring it. So this is another concept. Anyway, I will cover it again. For clarifying your doubt, I am now telling. Don't think that I am explaining itself everything here. Okay. Now, just for your clarification, I am saying that it is possible. So I will do it like this. I will take an empty list initially. Now I need to fill it in that list. So what I will do, how many numbers I want to fill, maybe 1 to 10 numbers I want to fill. So I will say for um, I in range 1 to 11. Okay. Now, list is entirely different concept. I have only touched the list because I want you to work out with for loops and while. Because list has many functions in it. That's entirely different concept to cover. We have list, set, dictionary, and all these data types that are there. We need to cover data structures, but we can do it. Let me tell you. L dot append of you can say directly that I as a number. Okay. Now you see 1 to 11 numbers have been appended, and now I will directly print L. So initially I have kept it with empty list. Next, using for loop, I have added each one, so appending each element to the list and now printing the list. Let me check out. Anything.
So did you save it, sir?
No, I think, yeah, this is a problem with this. I need to remove this code. I have just demoed it, right? That's the reason. Okay. Okay. Right. I think you understand that this is how I have completely filled in my.
Sir, your voice is not audible.
Yeah. So I think you have completely filled the list. So initially my L is empty. Next, using this for loop, I have filled it with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I will also show it in Python tutor. Copy and okay. So I will try to visualize it. See the memory, how it will work. So initially my L is empty. You see, it shows me empty list. See what I am showing you here. It shows me empty list, the red mark. So it created a memory. It created a memory with empty list. That means it reserved it. So mano ఒకసారి చూసారా, before filling the values, we, for example, you are going to a marriage. In olden days, I think people started to book RTC buses. So one bus is booked for us. When we are sending each person into it, so it is appending one person into the bus slowly, one by one. Will stand in a queue and each one will board the bus, and they started to occupy the seats, right? So the same way it goes on. You see, first we have taken an empty list and slowly we are filling it up. So what is I? It was clearly given. You see what I am highlighting? I is equal to 1. Next, it is filled into the list. See, the 0th index is filled with the list, sorry, with the number 1 in the list. Next, for the next iteration, I is becoming 2. Okay, I is becoming 2, and next this 2 is appended into the list. You see, yes, for the index 1 it is appended. The same thing, each one is appended, whatever I value that it is coming, it is appended into the list, and this is the final list that will be printed onto the screen. You can see like this. Okay. Now, whatever your question is, here you can also take, instead of append I, you can repeat it for 10 times, and every time you repeat, you can take an input. For example, I can say number is equal to int of input of enter a number to append. Okay, so I have just taken an input for number which I converted into integer, and now I will append that number whatever you give. So I will randomly keep 10 numbers into the list. Okay, sorry,
Yes, sir.
number. Okay, so I will take this into consideration, copy, edit the code, right? So I don't know whether this input will be taken or not. Let me check out. Yeah. Next. Yes, it is asking me to enter. So some number 2 I will give. Okay, submit. Next. So you can see the number is given as 2. The next thing is the 2 is appended to it. Next, for the next iteration, again it asks me. So this time I give some 100 and submit. Okay. Next, the 100 is included. So this is how you can take randomly whatever number you want, and you can fill up with the list. I hope you understand. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Right. So I think the time is up. Thank you. Bye bye. And in the lab we will meet and do some programs.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.